evening, everyone. It is the Londonderry View coming to you on February 19th today.
Yeah.
This is our 40th episode, and we are continuing with the candidates. Tonight, I'd like to start off with Steve Brough. He is running for the Advisory Budget Committee. So, Steve, would you like to tell us about yourself?
Absolutely, thank you. Well, I'm going to spend maybe 10 or 15 minutes here telling about, talk about myself. I'll spend a few minutes talking about myself and my family, maybe a few minutes about my experience, and then I think I'm going to spend 4 or 5 minutes on character, because I believe character is a true representation of a person and the true values. So me and my family, I'll start off with my wife and I moved to Londonderry about maybe just over 12 years ago. And there was a reason why we moved to Londonderry. Obviously, the number one reason is the school system. Another reason is because I find Londonderry unique. It's unique because it has the apple orchards, the pumpkin patches, it has the ponds you can go fishing at. It has, during the winter, you can play some pond hockey, one of my favorite things to do during the winter activities. And it has thousands of acres of outdoor activities that you can do. So that's why I really enjoy Londonderry. However, there is one destination that I truly enjoy. I tend to go it almost every weekend, and my wife gets a little frustrated. She said, "You spend too much time there," and that's Home Depot. I do spend a lot of time at Home Depot, and I see a lot of other people from Londonderry there. So that's a little bit about why we moved to Londonderry. I have 3 daughters. 2 are in college, and 1 is a junior at Londonderry High School. And I have a hiking partner that's part of my family. That hiking partner is my dog Violet, a yellow lab. Because none of my kids and my wife want to be outside during the cold. So that's my hiking partner, is my dog. So that's a little bit about myself and family. I would say my experience has to be, it's 2 different careers. I started, my first career was electrical trade. I worked for an electrician in Manchester, New Hampshire. I was a small business owner. And I learned a lot from working for the small business owner. I learned about customer service. I learned about controlling expenses. And especially overhead, how important the controlling overhead is. And he was a frugal business owner. I mean, if I dropped one of those little wire nuts, those things, the plastic caps that hold wires together, if I dropped one of those and left it behind, he'd call me out and say, "Hey, Steve, that's 3 cents you're leaving on the ground there." So I learned about the value of small things. So that was my electrical career. I spent some time in that. And then I transitioned to the corporate world, and I've been I would say more than 16 years in a corporate world. And I worked for a company in Boston, and I moved to different departments. I started off in marketing. I went into IT, spent some time in IT. I then transitioned to finance, accounting, and got involved in taxes, and then investment. So I was basically in most of the operations of the company. So I think the combination of those 2, working for a small business and then working with a corporation, I think I have a fairly strong understanding of what it takes, or when there are budgets involved, what it takes to operate a business, regardless of the size of the business, small or large. So that's sort of my background in business. If I move on now, I want to spend some time on character. And again, this is where I felt that I want to spend some time on, so that the audience has a better understanding of who I am and what I represent, what some of my values are. I would have to say the easiest way I can do this is to give you an analogy. And my analogy is going to be the use of cars, because I believe people buy cars to express themselves. This is the car I drive, this is who I am. So I'm going to use cars to help with this whole analogy process. My first car, I'm going to identify 3 cars that I think reflect me and who I am. The first car was the first car I purchased was a Chevy Vega. And I purchased it from an individual in Manchester. I paid $500 for it. And after the first week of driving it, I realized I couldn't believe the gas mileage in this car. I drove it 100 miles, and the gas gauge did not move 1 centimeter or a millimeter. I couldn't believe it. I was so impressed. And then the next week, I ran out of gas. So I realized the gas gauge wasn't working. And after another week of the car, I realized that sometimes it wouldn't start. And to me, I'm a problem solver. So I try to figure out what's causing the problem. I open up the hood, and I see this bundle of wire all taped up. I move it around, and the car starts up again. So I started solving all these little problems, these little quirks that this car had. And after a few weeks of this, I was getting to the point where maybe I should sell it. So I sold the car for $500. So no gain, no loss. But there's an important lesson I learned from that car, and that was that even the lowest price or the low budget doesn't always give you the best value. So that's what I looked at. You know, the lowest budget out there is not always the best best value. The second car, I guess, represents me would be a minivan that we purchased. So obviously the family was growing, so we decided to purchase a minivan. And I look at a minivan as practical. I mean, it's great. Kids, you know, you have kids and you can bring them in there. Their friends, everyone, and you can move the seats around.
Yeah.
And we had the built-in car seats in this minivan, so everyone, the kids were all excited about this. So we'd go pick up the kids, and their friends would say, "Oh, I have to get the car seats." I said, "No, we have the built-ins. We're all set." I felt that, you know, it's definitely practical, flexible. The vehicle was flexible. We could add more kids. We did a number of road trips to Florida with it. Brought our friend, their friends. So to me, the minivan brought people together, and that's what I like to do. I like to bring people together. So the minivan to me is practical, flexible, and it brings people together. Now, there was one situation that I had with the minivan. At one point, I decided to buy a boat, and I said, "Okay, I'll buy the boat, and we'll spend more time with the kids. You know, go out and do maybe some fishing or something with the kids." And I was Lake Massapequa. I was pulling the boat out of the water, and it was all back. It was the boat's in the water. The back end of the minivan's in the water. I'm ready to pull it out of there. I put it in gear and I start spinning. And I realized I'm not going to get this boat out of the water. And these guys are looking at me in front of me, laughing at me, because there's no way this minivan's going to pull the boat out of the water. Well, after some laughs, they finally came over and helped me out, and we got the boat out of the water. I got home and I told my wife, "Michelle, we're selling the minivan." So the next vehicle, I guess, that represents me the most would have to be the current vehicle that I own now. It's a blue Honda Pilot, and I think I consider it as to be it's a hard-working vehicle. It has over 220,000 miles on it, and it's adaptable. I can do different things with the vehicle because at night I can go out and have dinner with a bunch of friends. The next day I can drop the seats down and have the dog jump in and go for a hike. So it's adaptable, and it's also, I find it as I would say trustworthy, because I haven't had a single problem with this vehicle, with this Honda Pilot. It's had 220,000 miles on it, not a single problem. And I think that it goes above and beyond what's expected, because what I did was I added on a trailer hitch. So now I can add more to my, if I go to Home Depot, I can put some stuff in the back of the truck, and then put even more inside the trailer. So it goes above and beyond what's expected. It's Call of Duty. So I consider that Honda Pilot a true reflection of who I am. It's hardworking, it's adaptable, and trustworthy. And I think what I'd like to ask the audience is when they, in a few weeks, they're going to be going through the polls, and I ask them that, think about me and my blue Honda Pilot. Hardworking, adaptable, and trustworthy.
That is a beautiful analogy.
Thank you.
Very
It really
nice.
is.
Very
It
nice.
is. Boy. I think it's so important for all of our viewers that elections, it's not a popularity contest. It's not your friend. It's not this or that. It's because who has the character, who's going to represent our town and make the best decisions for every family.
Right, who's got the experience.
And experience is important.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because you have that background. And, from everything from the cars to the finance to the marketing, which is very important
it's
too.
a broad background. I think the combination of what, even right now, I'm currently the financial controller for a company in Portsmouth. So I'm responsible for the finances, the entire budget for the company now.
Important to mention.
And it's so interesting that within a few weeks, the facilities manager comes up to me and goes, "Hey, Steve, I remember you were an electrician." I go, "Yeah." And he said, "We have an electrical problem. I can't get a hold of my electrician." Here I am in the suit. I'm going down to the electrical room. I'm taking the panel off and trying to figure out what the problem is with why a certain system wasn't working. So it was great. It was
right.
so interesting. It was just how it all came together at this company.
And then you can jump back and
You
forth.
can jump back and forth. The tools are definitely rusty now.
That's very good.
Yeah.
And you said you've been here 12 years? in
Yes,
town?
it's over 12 years in town. Yeah. Again, it's I spent a lot of time at Musquash and some of the Max Apples. And obviously, when the kids were young, Max Apples, they What they do, allowing people to use the land there, it's great.
Sledding
Sledding on the hill, it's, I don't know how many times we've done that.
You pick two.
Some crazy kids
Yeah.
sometimes go at the very top of the hill and come through the trail. It's just amazing how fast they go down that hill, but it's a great time. It's a great community to bring out to raise kids here.
It
Yeah.
really is, it is. And something too that you might want to mention is that, being relatively new to some of the, you joined the Rotary,
Yes,
which
yes.
is, I'm such a proponent of our Rotary, and they do so much good, and they're a small group, but with scholarships and helping any
amazing.
nonprofit that's out there. So, I think it's impressive that you jumped on board with that too.
Well,
you know?
that's what opened my eyes to, it's seeing people, I guess, when you're involved in these types of, when you get involved, you're here to provide service and to serve the community. And that's the number one thing. And when I started attending some of the meetings at the Rotary, I started seeing this, and it just surrounds you with people who want to help out. And there was one time where the Christmas trees were being taken down or moved around in the Londonderry Commons, and I drove by and I said, you know what, I should go help that person with moving the trees, and that's what I did. And I got acknowledged at the next meeting at the Rotary. It was great. I was like, this is what a true Rotarian does. They help out the
Right,
community.
that's
You gotta
right,
help out.
So it was nice to see that and hear that.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
You have to help out all around.
You do. Back to I mentioned Londonderry with the ponds and the pond hockey. There was one, I'm a true advocate of pond hockey, and I used to take my snowblower. My neighbors thought I was absolutely crazy because I'd take my snowblower, go down the road, go to a pond, and clear a rink for the kids to skate on. And we'd have these huge pond hockey tournaments, and the kids from Londonderry High School hockey would come over and play against us. And so when I thought I was good at pond hockey, then these guys would come along from the pond hockey team and just show me what I
Then you realize.
really need to learn. But the one thing I did learn that I need to wear a helmet now because when I fall, it hurts. Yeah.
And when we're younger, it just doesn't,
Yeah, that's right.
It's funny on the
Yeah.
skates. And, that's something I would hope for the future of Londonderry, that we'd have a big ice skating pond somewhere. Because I used to love that when I was younger, and it'd be nice to have a centralized place.
It is.
Yeah.
It is great. But what people don't realize, you have to clear. It does snow, so you have to clear the
That's the
snow.
problem.
And there's nothing. Sometimes when I go out hiking in some of the trails, I'll see a pond. And I see kids out there shoveling the snow and playing some pond hockey, and that to me, I just truly enjoy seeing that.
Yeah.
They're not spending time in front of the TV. They're spending time outside
Outside,
doing
being
things.
active.
So it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know how much work it is to go and shovel a rink. So it's good to see that.
Yeah, that's important for them to be outside doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Such a different world with everything
It
on
is.
now,
It
you
is.
know.
Definitely.
But
And you're running for the 1 year?
1 year term of the budget committee. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because we have 3 people running for the 3-year term,
Mhm.
and then 2 running for the 1-year
For
term.
the 1-year
yeah.
term.
Which
Yeah.
is a little confusing, even
Yeah.
for us, at the town hall, because it's just the 2 positions.
Mhm.
But yeah, so,
Very good.
All right.
wow.
Thank you very
Oh,
much for
thank you.
coming on.
Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Good
Appreciate
luck
it.
in the
Yeah,
race.
thank you
Excellent.
for being willing to
Very good
serve.
luck.
And our next candidate that we have here is Chad Franz, and he is also running for the Advisory Budget Committee. Welcome.
Thank you very
Welcome,
much.
Chad. Thanks for being
Thank
with
you.
us.
I appreciate the honor. Thank you. So,
Tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in Londonderry, and tell us why you'd like to run for this position.
great. So I recently retired from the Marine Corps, and I really miss, to be honest, I feel like a fish out of water in regards to the service. That was really a big part of the military is our community service, the giving back to people. And I was part of a unit called a Marine Expeditionary Unit, and what it was is 2,300 Marines and sailors on amphibious ships. And we each had a geographical location, and part of our region, what the purpose of, we call them MUs, Marine Expeditionary Unit, but the purpose of the MU is if something happens in our region, we were rapidly deployable and was able to go take care of things, whatever it was. Well, there wasn't really that much. I was in the Western Pacific area, and there wasn't that many hostile stuff going on in that area. So what we did was we traveled to the countries in our region, and we would do a lot of community relations and humanitarian missions and stuff. And you know, one thing I really like about the Marine Corps is that you don't see that. And, you know, that's important to me. It's not a, you know, hey, look at me, look at what I've done. You know, it's, we do this for a real, true reason. We do it to give back. And that's important to me, is, you know, it's not for the notoriety. It's not for the accolades. It's because you genuinely care about people.
I have to agree. I don't mean to interrupt
No,
you, but
please.
my son was in the Marines for 12 years, and he was the same way. Did not want to be recognized by anyone, and told us, you know, they weren't allowed to wear camis out like you see other branches of the service in Walmart or wherever, wearing their camis. They weren't allowed to do
I
that.
did not know that.
Yeah.
Kat, that you could-
Well,
But it's not, like you said, they don't want accolades. They
Humble
just do it.
servants, yeah.
so I am biased to Marines, but I think anyone that is willing to put their name on a check payable up to their life just receives my utmost respect. And I am like crazy about veterans, you know, being one, and I just, before even service, they say the hardest job in the military, as I mentioned earlier, is not the service member themselves, it's the mother or the wife or spouse,
sure.
spouse of a service member. So,
That is
but to continue what I was saying, I miss that service. I really feel just a sense of duty to continue. And I hear if you want to have the most impact in your everyday life, in your daily life, is town. And, you know, I'm a true believer of bloom where you're planted.
Oh,
And
bloom where you're planted.
bloom where you're
I like
planted.
that.
TM, no.
Beautiful.
But, you know, I just want to continue that service. So in the Marines, I ran an operating budget where we read line items. I questioned the validity of things. I wanted to see if there were better ways, more cost-effective ways that we can still continue our operations, but do it smartly, do it in a wise manner. And I feel that with those skills and my sense of service, I feel that I would hope to be a good candidate for a town budget committee. And, you know, I'll be honest with you, I don't have all the answers. And I don't know, I'm not an expert or by all means, but I'm willing to learn. And I'm willing to ask because I care. And, you know, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna be perfect at something or what have you, but, you know, I'm willing to talk with people, and I have views and feelings and emotions about things, but I could be wrong too. And I think it's important to value other people's thoughts, feelings, emotions, and views. Hear them, because again, if I stay where I'm at and am rigid, how am I going to get better? So, yeah.
Very good.
Very well
That's-
said.
Yeah, very well said.
Thank you. So I am relatively new to town. I moved here September 2016 to answer your question, sorry. And I recently retired a couple months ago, well, September of last year officially from the Marines. So it was a good time. So,
Very good.
yeah. And we have 2 little ones and one on the way, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's
So
very exciting.
my wife and I are very fortunate, and I couldn't be blessed with a better family and support network around here. So it's
Very nice.
really fortunate.
That's exciting.
So
Do you
you'll
have-
kind of grow, your family will grow with the
Right.
town.
Right,
town,
right. And
That's a big thing.
well, so I originally grew up in Derry.
Yeah.
And the other side of the tracks. And I always thought, and I was like, oh, you know, Londonderry, it's, you know, they have really good schools. And not that Derry doesn't, I'm not saying that at all. But I've always heard good things. And then I went away for the military, and, you know, we came back for a reason.
Yeah.
And I'm just really amazed at the people of the town, how there's really some good people here. And there's people that care, whether it's in elected positions or in, like, just in the community. There's some really good people here, and there's some awesome longevity. And I'd be a fool not to listen to them and take advice and stuff too.
Yeah.
So,
And to learn from them. And
Right.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, very
So.
much. But when we first met, actually, before we met, I was at a council meeting, and you learn so many different things at the council meetings, and they were talking about the veterans credit that they were talking about and deciding, and trying to decide what to do with, and the council had made the decision to support our veterans and move forward with
Yeah.
some relief for them. And out of nowhere, all of a sudden, you wanted to stand up to say thank you.
Right.
And I thought, it really took me back, and I didn't know we'd be sitting here today. I was in the back of the room, you're over on the side. I'm like, I just want to meet that young man, because I remember making notes to myself, like, who really thinks to stand up and say thank you? You didn't have to, it was a given. And I was equally impressed that another woman who was also a veteran, right after, she spoke, she stood up and also said another thank you, but that really touched my heart that you thought to do that, because they don't get a whole lot of thank yous, or so that was a really nice thing to do. I think it kind of caused everyone to pause.
Well, thank you.
You're
I'm
welcome.
very
You're
humbled
welcome.
at that,
Yeah,
and I appreciate
yes,
that.
thank
So,
you.
the audience might wonder what's all the calamity or whatever going on and the noise. So I do have a service dog, and you might see me around town. She helps mitigate my combat-related disability and stuff. Her name's Judy. I definitely welcome anyone, but she's down at my feet, looking right up me.
What a sweet
Super
girl.
cool, and so that's what all the noise is. So.
And she's so
She's-
well behaved.
She
Oh,
is
yeah,
very
yeah.
well behaved. She's probably wondering why we're making her stay under there. She's such a
So-
good girl.
Oh yeah, she's so awesome. So
And you also taught me a little bit about Judy and the group out of Massachusetts, NEED.
NEADS, needs, right?
Needs. And I didn't know about that either. I know about service, but phenomenal group that you're part of too.
Oh, absolutely amazing. So I'm what you call it. I'm now an ambassador to Needs, and so we all have different reasons why we get service dogs. And as I mentioned, she helps, mitigate my combat-related stuff. And I did a lot of research on what's the best organization. And Judy's not an end-all, say-all magic pill to make things better. She's a tool in my toolbox. And the thing is, you have to utilize the tools in your toolbox. And so Needs, to get back to what you were saying, is they partner with people and they train these amazing dogs to help people, whether they do combat-related, they help combat vets, which is the program that I'm a part of. They help, they do kids with autism, which I think is just the most amazing thing in the world, so awesome. They do dogs for people who are deaf as well. And the program itself, so the way they work is they get their dogs and they train them, and during the week, they're in the prisons in Massachusetts and inmates are training them. And this is great because they're people too.
That's right.
They, who has not made a mistake in their past? And you know what? Shame on whoever to think that otherwise, because granted, some are there for more serious offenses than we've committed or whatever,
Right.
but we all make mistakes, and it's you got to learn from your mistakes. But anyways, my point is, so the inmates are training them throughout the week, and it's amazing because it's rehabilitating for them. It's really hard to get on the program. It's really easy to get kicked off. And the other great thing, it's cost effective for the organization too. It cuts
Yeah.
down on cost and operating expenses, just more abundantly than ever originally imagined.
Wow.
And I just think that it's so important to be smart fiscally and wise with your decisions, because when you make a decision, and to kind of caveat off of that, when you make a decision, we all have our emotions and stuff, and I think you need to make a wise decision with whatever you do, and knee-jerk reactions I found people don't benefit. I don't benefit from it. And when you make these decisions, having a wise decision is a mix between emotions and logic. And those come together. That's what makes wisdom, is And that's how, because are there needs in this community? Are there needs in this town? Yes.
Yeah.
And we need to maintain that. You know, let's not be silly here, because not that anyone is, but you know, we have needs. We have to maintain certain programs. You have to,
Yes.
but let's do it in a wise manner. Let's see if we
Definitely.
can do it in a cost-effective manner.
Yeah.
You know, let's go with whatever. Not just the first person to throw a price at us. Let's look at all the options. You know, Chief Hart was talking about the SROs and stuff, and there was dialogue during the deliberative session. Those are conversations that we need to have, but it's important to listen to everybody, because everybody has some value. Everybody has value, and you know, not just above that it's someone's right to talk, which I agree and I support. It's people have value to add. So I think everybody is just doing, you know, Chief Hart is doing an amazing job, and you know, fire department is just amazing.
Yeah.
This whole town, I
The
can't
infrastructure.
say enough
Yes.
how fortunate I am to be a part of this community. I just want to give back. So,
Very nice.
thank you.
Very nice.
You have any other questions, ladies?
Very impressive.
Thank
You know, again, you know, from that first time to now, and then jumping in, you know, to support and, you know, be part. I think it's just a wonderful thing.
Thank you.
I do
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Boy.
Thank you so
And
much.
Bonnie also has grandsons and sons in the military. So,
Right.
you
Navy and the
know.
Marines, right?
Navy and the
Yeah,
Marines.
yeah.
That's
Oh,
right.
yeah. Oh, you were all, yes. So, you
Yeah,
know,
and
but
my
yeah.
son was in the Army,
Right.
and my husband was in the Army,
Mhm.
so it's
Yeah.
all of them.
To all of our veterans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Chad, this was phenomenal.
Thank
Is
you.
there
Very
anything
nice.
else you'd like to
Add?
say? Yeah, anything at all?
I just hope that I can have your support March 12th, and really make a wise decision when you're choosing whoever's name is on the ballot, whatever position it is. Look at who they are, look at the reason why they're running, and humility goes a long way. Being humble about things, in my book, goes a long way. And I think if we have that approach and we're wise with our decisions, we're going to come together smartly as a team. And that's my goal.
I love
Very
that.
good.
That's
Well said.
perfect.
Yeah,
Well, thank you.
thank
This was
you.
wonderful.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Moving on.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
And
so
good
thank
luck.
you.
It was a great interview. Can't
Yeah.
thank you enough. This
Thank
was
you.
great.
We
Boy.
wish you luck.
Gonna do
Thank you
lots
so
of great
much.
things in the community.
I appreciate it.
Boy,
Very
all right.
good.
Thank you.
Welcome, and we have our next candidate, Jen Gannam, and she is running for the school board. So welcome, Jen.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Thank you for
Jen.
having me.
Thanks for being here.
So we'd like to have you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and why you're running and any experience you might have, and
Okay.
go for it.
So I am an incumbent. I've been chair this year. I've been on the board 3 years. I will say my first year was spent learning about educational law. My background actually is I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner. That's my real job, I always say. But I've also taught. And I've taught at a community college, at SNU, and then at RIV in the graduate program. So I've been in the classroom as well as, well, in the classroom as a student as well as a professor. And I thought I knew a lot about education, and I still feel like I did, but it was a lot of the educational laws learning what you can do, what you can't do. And policy procedures and all of that was a little daunting that first year. I guess I met people's expectations because the second year they nominated me vice chair, and that was unanimous, and then this year as chair. But in that process, what was interesting is I realized a lot of our policies were very outdated, like 1978 when the high school opened. And so I had 3 goals. I always tell my kids when you start a new endeavor, you need to set goals, and I had 3 goals this year. And my first goal really was to increase student voice. I feel that it's really important that we have all the players at the table, and I think we've done a good job in the district about having teachers and community, but not such a great job grabbing the students and bringing them to the board and having them present us with what's important to them, as well as how they think it can be solved. So we've had several very impressive presentations, which began last year with the class of 2018 when they wanted to have the electronic sign in front of the high school. And there was some controversy, I guess, around that, and they did a good job. I gave them a couple directives. They came back to the board, and it was installed this fall. And I think everybody in town, actually, now that it's there, is
I love it.
is
Yeah.
Love it,
appreciative
love
of it. But I think we all had the same fears when they first came forward, like, is this going to be some flashing neon sign? So that was our first very impressive presentation, and ironically, it was that night that I was speaking about how I wanted student voice. So I told those students that they set the bar very high for everybody else. But we've had a lot of students step up and come. And, you know, we had a group of middle school students that came and talked about what they would like to see changed for the dress code, some of which I think was very reasonable. Some we said you might want to go back and ask parents what they think are reasonable, because I know what I think is not necessarily what my daughters think. You know, and we had a group of this year, 2 senior girls who were doing a senior project on the use of a therapy dog in reading class. We had a group, or a couple girls, 2 years or 3 years ago present that right when I was coming on the board, but they ran into some issues, and so it kind of went by the wayside. So these students, when I heard they were doing it, I have an emotional support animal at my office for my patients. I felt really strongly that it had a value, but I didn't know what roadblocks they would really face. So they put together this great presentation, and one of the roadblocks, as we suspected, was insurance. Whether or not the company that they bring the dogs from has a great deal of insurance, actually. But when the day was done, we have to answer to everybody, and we're not going to put anybody in jeopardy. And we needed our insurance to say that. So, not being defeated, those 2 students went and worked with our business administrator and facilities and pupil services, had a few meetings, talked with the loss prevention people from our insurance, and tonight I'm very excited because they are going to be coming back and telling us about the progress. And that is exciting to me. So anytime the students can come forward with their ideas that they're passionate about, I think this is a win-win. And I feel like, you know, as a school board person, I need to be helping students achieve their goals in whatever way possible, not just in the classroom, but outside. I think we have phenomenal academic programs, and I think there's always room for improvement. But I absolutely feel like it's our role in inviting them in and making it an accepting place. So I feel like I've accomplished that. That was goal number 1. It was a big, lofty goal, and I asked the teachers for their help in that, and I am grateful that students keep stepping up. Tonight we also have another big group of students coming to talk about our kindness initiative in the school. This year we had students step up. We also had a huge group of parents step up. At each school, in the grade schools, they have kindness statements on the bathroom stalls that were painted by parents on the weekends, on Old Homes Day, when it was that humid day. We had a group of parents at Matthew Thornton. That is very impressive because it's bringing, when we bring our students to us, we bring the parents with them, and now we have that engagement from the community. And that, to me, is what it's all about. So that goal was realized, but definitely with the teachers and with parent support. The second big lofty goal I had was to get our teachers trained in something for an active shooter situation. Last year, after the Parkland shooting, we were all horrified. Every event that happens, we kind of takes our breath away. And that was really before I became chair. And I went to Mr. LaLiberty and said, I am a very sensitive person. What I do for work entails emotion, and I don't think I can hold it together if there's anything that ever happens of that nature in I won't. I can't stand here and say, you know, we've done everything possible to train our teachers and protect our students if they're not actually trained. I, on my own time, went to an Intro to Alice training, talked to the man who ran that program. He was willing to do that for our teachers in August when we do our professional development for free. And so I went back to Mr. LaLiberty and said, okay, I don't care if it's this, I don't care if it's something else, but my mom was a teacher, and I want to know that our students and our faculty are safe. And that was accomplished this August. So I was very grateful, and I know the teachers were really grateful, you know.
I'm sure.
I think what really struck me as I was sitting around, I was talking to my children about that incident, and I realized that I was encouraging them to not follow the rules. Because I grew up in a military family, and my uncle made it a game. It's kind of weird to me now when I think about what all he did, but you know, we would be standing in a line, we'd leave wherever we were, and he'd say, so the guy standing 3 people in front of me, what did he have on? And so he helped us learn to be observant about our world around us. He would make us count the doors, although that was a game too, when you go to a hotel to where the exit was,
Yeah.
and my cousins and I would chase down the hall trying to figure it out before each other. And he'd ask us, where would you hide if we were playing hide and seek? When we were out in an open space, you know, where could you hide? And all those things, later, I realized those were life skills he was teaching me, right? So I've always taught my kids, you don't sit and wait and, you know, you do what you gotta do to keep yourself safe. And so that was part of my drive, was having that conversation and listening to my mom. You know, she lives with us, and you know, she was talking about, as a teacher, her biggest fear, and when the fire alarm would go off, and you know, and those were different years. Now we're doing, you know,
I can't even imagine
our-
the
yeah.
movie here talking about.
no,
Yeah.
and not at all. And it breaks my heart. But the world we live in, we can't ignore it, and we have to
No.
plan.
Yeah.
Because failing to plan it is just crazy given the world we're in. So that was goal number 2. Goal number 3 was that policy review. Looking at our policies, I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. And if anybody's watched our last meeting or current meetings, we're rescinding like 65, we're amending a bunch more. It's really a big process. I knew it would be big. I didn't realize it would be this big. It clearly is going into next year and maybe the year after. But it kind of shocked me, actually, when I came on the board, because, you know, in schools we have curriculum reviews. It's a cycle, right? Every 5 years or 10 years you're looking at things. And I said, why are we not doing reviews on policy on that same kind of standard?
Right.
So moving forward, I think that is what the board's going to choose to do, because it's pretty daunting when you have to read a list of 60 policies to rescind them. So those were really my 3 goals this year. Looking ahead, we have a lot to accomplish. And, you know, I ran last time, honestly, because I was looking for a challenge, and my kids said this would be a good one. This time I sat down with them and said, all right, it's been 3 years. I missed things for you, right? I've missed your meets, I've missed your games, I missed a presentation night or whatever. What do you think? Because do you think I should be done? And I got a resounding no. So, except my mother, she said she thought I was a little crazy, but she could support me. But yeah, she said, you know, it takes up a lot of your time. Are you sure? And I said, Mom, I'm really passionate about this. I want what's best for my children and for all the children in this community. I mean, the one thing that struck me when my mom moved here was how she said, you really have a community. I only moved from Manchester. It's not like we moved miles away. But for a big town, it feels like a small town.
Like a small town family.
Yeah. And so, you know, I like that I'm involved. I like that I can go to all the schools. You know, my kids are here. I'm around a lot. I see parents, I see the teachers, and quite honestly, kids tell me a whole heck of a lot nobody else would. So I'm grateful for that. And so when my kids said, yeah, Mom, we think you need to run again, I said, okay. I have things I still feel like need to be accomplished. You know, we have a declining enrollment overall, but a rising enrollment in our lower grades. And we need to address that. That's going to be a big undertaking. And, you know, it's not just a matter of the building, it's a matter of looking at long term. It's a matter of saying, okay, we have a bubble here, can it accommodate as we move through? What's our overall plan moving forward? And, you know, I chose to be on the Building and Facilities Needs study for the Moose Hill property, and the amount of plans, the potential, the different directions we could go in, I think there were 20. It was a pretty big number. So if I'm elected next year, I won't be chair. Thank you. I won't have to run meetings, and I can be more of an active participant in that group, because that is really what we need to figure out. Nobody wants to hear the big swear word of redistricting. I don't think as a parent I would want to hear it. Students don't want to hear it, but as a school board member, I definitely don't want to have to address it. But we have to come up with a plan. And the biggest challenge will be doing that in a way that's fiscally responsible. And I think that is going to be a big challenge. I think there's a way to do it, but I think we have to look at the long-term numbers and that whole picture, because we don't want to keep moving kids around. That's not good for anyone's education.
Definitely.
So that's a big lofty goal. I would like to see, and I said this 3 years ago when I ran, I would like to see our students more involved with seniors. You know, having my mom move in with us and seeing how much we have for our senior community. I do know that our students have done some performances. They've invited seniors to come. There was a bus from All American Assisted Living that came to a concert. I mean, I know that we're doing that. I think we need to do that more. I think we gained so much from listening to seniors.
Yeah,
and
definitely. I think that's an important thing.
Yeah, so much, you know, so many children don't have grandparents around,
Right.
and my kids are blessed. We're really blessed to have that. So that is kind of my other lofty goal, and that I can take a bigger role in as well, moving
Very
forward.
good.
That's nice.
That is nice.
Yeah. We've had in our senior resource committee recently a couple of the high school young men so far coming over and
To
talking to
meetings,
us and telling us, like, hey, we're here to help through different committees and clubs at the school. It's a great thing, and starting even with the younger grades would be phenomenal. You know, so yeah, it is. It's a
Well,
good
we're at
lofty
that
goal.
point, we have to get you to do a little wrap up, and one last thing.
One last thing, I would like everybody to vote, and I would like them to make an informed decision. That's all I can ask for.
Very good.
I will be at the polls bright and early and there all
It's
day.
a long day for the candidates.
Praying for really nice weather.
Yes.
But I just, you know, I really hope everybody gets out there. It is disheartening to me that we have 18,000 registered voters and yet less than 100 show up to our deliberatives. I surely hope we have a better turnout at the polls.
Absolutely, you're right.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you. This
for
was
coming
phenomenal.
Hi, everyone. We have our next candidate, Bob Slater. He is running for the school board. Welcome, Bob.
Well,
Welcome.
thank you.
Bob,
Thank you for having
being
me.
here.
Excited to kind of get my time here with you ladies and that. And as you know, I'm running for school board. Been involved in the town and lived in town over 33 years. Big with the children in the high school, coached at the high school for 27 years, and youth sports, did the boys lacrosse program for so many years, and football for a few years, and then took the girls lacrosse program over for 10 years from 2006 to 16. At that time, you know, we were fortunate enough to get over 40 girls recruited, you know, off to college and that in that 10-year tenure, and we just happened to win 3 state championships at the same time. So that was, you know, a credit to the girls and the time and the energy they put into our program. We also have 3 children that graduated through Londonderry school system. My oldest is 37, my other son's 34, and my daughter's 30. So they've been out for a little bit of time and I continued to coach after they left the school. And I took the last year and a half off and you know, stayed doing some stuff off to the side and that. I own a construction company in town for over 30 years. Me and my wife own it, and we've been together for 41 years and that. So we're pretty vested in town, and now we've
So,
built a new home for my son and my daughter-in-law, and have my granddaughters in first grade over at Matthew Thornton, and my
Very
grandson is at Leap, 4 years old. So we're pretty vested for
Yeah,
the
I'd say
future of
Oh,
Londonderry,
yes,
and
sounds it.
you know, I put so much in the community for the last 33 plus years that when there was a problem, a lot of people came to me, and I tried to help, you know, fix things or rebuild things. And you know, we're in the concrete business, so all the concrete you see around town, around the schools and Laffer, you know, we did for the community, and you know, at cost and whatever we could do. God bless Dottie, I helped her build this building, you know,
wow.
and
Yeah,
that,
Dottie,
and got her
yeah.
into it. I mean, she was just a wonderful lady. And a lot of kids get to, you know, use this building and you know, maybe make this their future too. So, so for all the years of working outside and behind the scenes, I kind of got involved. There was, you know, a group of people in town that have been in town 30, 40 years, like myself, came to me and said, we got another project. You know, SAU needs a new office, and can you look at it? So that's what I do. You know, I stay behind the scenes, and what can I do? And came up with an idea and presented it. And you know, the school had different ideas. Tried to, you know, get them into a newer building. So now they're leasing, you know, on a 10-year or 10 one-year leases at this time up at Kitty Hawk, until they figure out, you know, where they want to go, what they want to do. So I started working on that in January, and I've attended every school board meeting other than one since last January. As I get involved with that part of it, I started looking at the education part, what goes on inside the buildings, and you know, how can I better be educated inside the buildings? I've been outside the buildings for so long. And sitting through the meetings, you learn a lot about the curriculum and what's needed, and you know, mental health issues, and it's staggering, you know, what you can learn at attending these meetings.
yeah.
And every meeting got more and more, you know, interesting and information. So, you know, I'm still working on the project to get them into a new building, you know, sooner than later, to save our taxpayers, you know, an astronomical amount of money that we can use in the building for our education and that. So I've just put a lot of energy in that forward here, learning. I've met with the superintendent last week, and Mr. Black, the assistant superintendent, and Chuck Zappler, the maintenance, and spent 3 hours up at district office. Where are we heading, you know, with our education curriculum? They assured me that, you know, the curriculum's going to change dramatically over the next 3 years to get us to that next level. You know, I question them. I want to be top 3 in the state. Why are we at number 10? And that's why they're doing this. They're working proactively to get us to that next level and get us up into the top 3. And that's one of my goals, is to see our education get as much as it can, be fiscally wise with our tax dollars, communicate with the community on where this money's going, why we need it. Being a business person, I think I can bring a lot of communication and collaboration of the community, and explain to certain groups, you know, where these tax dollars are going, why they are needed. Because a lot of people vote no, 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 without knowing. But if we can get this information out and sit down with these at communities, you know, go to someone's home in a neighborhood, go to the Nevins and sit down, you know, with people over there, you know, and just lay it out, and have some counsel, have some school board, you know, so we collaborate together and explain it to why the tax dollar is what it is. I think we'll get better support in our community, and I think my business sense, I can work that into the school district and try to educate where these dollars. I said it last night at the teachers union. The 5-year CIP that's coming out is it's kind of staggering. It's $60 million that they want to spend in the next 5 years, and it doesn't address 2 or 3 other items. So we've got a much larger base to look at. You know, and I think the school needs a 10-year CIP. I think they need to get everybody in a room and collaborate with the superintendents, with faculty, with administrators, the principals, and have this master plan on the wall at district office, and then vote and prioritize these items. Because what I learned at the last several meetings when they proposed the warrant article for communication is, you know, for $275,000, it originally started at $500,000 back in December through the budget process, and they reduced it to $275 because they don't really know, and they can't get it all done in one summer when the schools are shut down. So they cut it back, but that should have never happened. And that needs to be proactive. So I think with a business sense on the school board, as well as trying to get our education as the top 3 in the state, and our superintendent did assure me he wants to be number 1. And that was a breath of fresh air. I want to get us to top 3 and then take that step to get there, but I do appreciate that. I think having that business sense on the board and our tax dollars going to WISE and really having the more input, more people at the school board meeting with public comment. You know, the more information we can give and let out, the better and smarter we can be with the tax dollars for our taxpayers, and better the education. Like I said, the $60 million seems staggering, but it doesn't address everything. So we have to be wise, and I know we can. Do I know everything in the classrooms or in the buildings? No. Am I going to be proactive and diligently working to get this information so I can make the right decision and reach out to the community and get this information out to them to get their input to help us make these decisions? Absolutely. I've got a ton of energy. You know, I want the best for as being in town this long, and I'm not going anywhere with my grandchildren, you know, and ourselves living here. We love Londonderry. I've been here a long time, and I know a tremendous amount of great people. The other part is we need to collaborate better with our town, and that with our 2 governments need to work hand in hand. There's been some kickback, you know, with the board. I know the town, you know, stepped up and offered me at a council meeting, you know, funds with no interest to help rebuild the school district, which I seen a great opening there. I was amazed what they offered. And now I need the school board and the town. If we can work the 2 governments together as one, we can be the best town in the state of New Hampshire. We can be the strongest, you know, left leg, right leg, forward, not separate, not go in different directions. I think what I've already accomplished with the council, what they've offered to the school, working with the superintendent. I've met with a meeting with all the principals over the next 2 weeks, doing the school tours with teachers so I can understand how the teaching is different. They call it functionality of the classroom has changed. That's the new word. And I need to understand that. I need to see it so we can make the right decisions, whether moving students to this school, do we need a new school? Do we need to redistrict? I know nobody likes that word, but you know, we have to weigh everything out and have that master plan. 5 years doesn't do it. 1 year doesn't do it for the school. A 10-year plan, adjust, and as I was told by several administrators, is the communication and our internet service and all our technology has gotten so far behind because it seems as though when the budgets need to be tightened up, a lot of that got taken away. And now we're years behind. And we can't have that. Our kids rely on that. The teachers rely on this form of technology now to teach in the classroom. And that, so, you know, attending these meetings, being proactive, definitely meeting, just the meetings I've had with the principal yesterday with Jason Parent was eye-opening. You know, we're dealing with, you know, vaping. There's a lot of policy things that need to be tightened up. But the school board needs to do their part. They need to be, like I told the committee last night at the meeting, the teachers' meeting, is I don't want to just take a seat behind that desk and listen. I want to have answers. I want to be able to get them the answers. I want to be proactive. I want to know. I think each school board member should have a task every year. And next year it's a different one if it's a 3-year term. And that way you're learning different parts. You have the high school this year, you have the middle school, you have the elementary, so a lot of that task is getting into what they need. Next year you would have this task. So now you're learning the whole school system,
How
in
it
and
all
out,
works.
how it
Yeah.
works.
Together,
Because
right.
Which is
you
important.
can't make these decisions unless, you know, me being in business, I collaborate with my people. What's the best way to handle this job? I don't just send them out and say, you've got 2 weeks to do the project, you know, and we're talking about the livelihood of our children and education, and we want them to have the best. It isn't a business in the classroom. That's education. The business needs to be outside the classroom and get the teachers and the administrators the support they need,
Right.
so they can do their job and get us to the highest degree of education for our children, you know, K through or leap through 12 now. And those programs are growing. We don't know. We've got to be able to forecast better population growth. I know the superintendent's got a pretty good handle on it, but you have to have this, and I don't think they know where to go at this point, and we're behind. So that we end up spending dollars foolishly and not wisely, and that just to Band-Aid something. We can't. And that's where I think my business sense and being in the community and seeing my 3 children go through, and now my grandchildren coming in and be, you know, I'll be attending all their events and that, and I want it to be the best for the children of Londonderry. You know, I want our teachers to have the best environment. So,
Well, we have 1 minute left.
1 minute left.
Yeah,
You did
believe it or not.
phenomenally,
So
boy.
if
Well,
you want to tell
it's-
us, you know,
Yep.
when the voting and wrap it up. And
Well, I'm hoping we have no snowstorm like last
Oh,
year.
my goodness.
And I hope everyone out there will come out and vote for the person they feel as though will do the best job. As a school board position, you're dealing with a budget of $74 million. It's a big task. You need some business sense. You need to collaborate with many, many people in the community. You need as much help and support from our town government to our town manager to all school board members to faculty on a $74 million budget and a you know, projects that are up and coming, major improvements to our school system. We need everybody out to vote. And please vote for who you think will do the right job. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Beautifully
Thank you for
put.
coming.
Thank